Hello, people. We are Tottenham TV. Tottenham 1, Sydney 1. Spurs winning 4-2 on penalties. And we'll get into the penalties a bit later. I'm here with Amir. We just sat through the watch-along, sat through this game. And obviously, Spurs started with an 11 of Dubravka, Hall, Hardy, Davis, Kaimaratan, Gray, Gallagher, Bergvall, Solomon, Tel and Richarlison. And for the first half, heavily dominant display. Created chances, maybe not enough chances, but still created chances and went in at half-time at 1-0 up. And, I think we had them penned in for the most part. They were able to spring on us a couple of times, but weren't able to hurt us much at all. And, they were... resulted to fouling us time and time again. They weren't able to handle us much. The goal that we scored, Amir, wow. You don't get a much better free kick than that. And I wasn't expecting that from Matty Tel. How good was that goal?
Listen, that was from the very, very top drawer of football. It was just a beautiful strike. The way it kind of went up and over the crossbar and then dipped into the top bins was just top quality from Tel. And if he's got that kind of strike in him, we need him on free kicks this season, because since Eriksen, we haven't had anyone who can pop them in like that. So, absolutely magnificent strike from Tel.
Yeah, gorgeous. It really was. It really was. And, building a bit of a catalogue here at pre-season. Matheus Fernandes goal in the opening game. That lovely team goal for Richarlison in the second game. And now this from Matty Tel in the third game. I would say that you're definitely seeing, as the games progress, more and more what De Zerbi's trying to do. The pressing, particularly in the first half, was on point. You saw nice little passages of play, one-touch football, building up from the back, which I thought was impressive at times. Look, you've got to take into account the level of opposition, and you've got to be doing better against this kind of opposition, don't get me wrong. But I'm just talking about the ideas of what Roberto De Zerbi is trying to do, and you can definitely see that. But back on Matty Tel, we've spoken about him a lot during this pre-season. And again today, as much as maybe it wasn't as good as when he came on in the second half against Auckland, but he was still very dominant down that left-hand side, wasn't he?
He was, and he's always a danger, Tel. He can just twist and turn and get around his man. I think something that he maybe needs to improve on a little bit is that crossing and that final ball. A bit of footballing IQ, I would call it. Playing in the right man at the right time, taking the shot when the shot's on. But he's going to learn as he goes, and he's improving game by game. And you saw that in the Auckland game when he came on. He was fantastic. The finish today was unbelievable, and I think he can go from strength to strength. I also think his attitude and the way he goes about his football and his kind of career outlook is fantastic. He's probably looking at Zizou coming into the France job and thinking, I want to get into that team, even though it's filled with fantastic players. So huge words of praise for Tel, and I think he'll be starting off the left against Brentford in a couple of weeks.
It depends who we bring in, I guess, because that's a big topic of conversation. It's got to be, because as much as we were heavily dominant, particularly in the first half and at times in the second half, you can see there's a clear lack of quality up front, and that's been prevalent in the first game, the second game, and the third game. As much as we can praise the likes of Manor and the likes of Matty Tel, Conor Gallagher, Richarlison, not making the impact in the final third that we need. The amount of times that man or Solomon was able to beat his man, get the ball into Conor Gallagher in the box. Conor Gallagher, failing to put the ball in the back of the net. Richarlison was more or less anonymous in those kind of phases for the majority of the time that he was on the pitch. If pre-season is teaching us anything, or not that it has to, because we all knew it going into pre-season, we need quality in this forward line. The quality is just not there.
We do. We need to add a couple of players. We need a 9 and another winger for me. Those are the key positions now. And if we can spend up to 200 million, which is what everyone's talking about, we need to go and get our targets. It's as simple as that. And it's not just about getting the players in. It's getting the right players in that can improve the 11. And then players like Tel, decision on Solomon. Can they be squad players? Can they come into games? Can they come off the bench and have an impact? That's what we want to see. We're building a squad here. And I think, someone like Tel, he'll fight for his position. If we say bring in another winger, he's not going to want to let him get ahead, which is great. Then you've got real competition. You've got Kudus coming back. Hopefully Decky in the next few months will also be coming back and he'll be able to compete. Although you've got to take it slow with Decky. So real competition for places is what we need. Um, for me, it's quite clear who I'd bring in as a nine. I think Krupi has proved himself in the Premier League last season. He was absolutely phenomenal. You've got other clubs sniffing around him though, right? Your Barcelonas, your PSGs are in possibly for him. So for me, I think you lay down the money and you go and get him because, like you said, Ben, that is where we're lacking at the moment. It's that front line. So if you want to compete, and as RDZ said, he wants to compete at the top of the Premier League. You've got to go and get those players,
Yeah.
get the business done. So
Because
yeah, I
I think
hope
we're looking good up until that phase. Building up the back
we are.
looks decent in
We are.
midfield. The ball progression, the little patterns of play, the one-touch and moves, the pressing looks really good. But it's
Yeah.
all about that quality in the final
Yeah.
third. We're
Yeah.
severely lacking there, severely. So it is a bit of a worry. We're at 4 or 5 weeks to go to the start of the season. We need about 2 or 3 players in those areas of the pitch. So we need to get a move on. The Savinho deal needs to get wrapped up as soon as possible so we can move on to the next target and bring him in. In terms of Conor Gallagher, I just touched on him there a little bit, fluffed his lines a couple of times, had to put the ball in the back of the net, at least one of those 3 chances. But it wasn't all bad because I think he performed well in terms of his ability to his pressing was fantastic. The amount of times he forced the Sydney defence into making a mistake and his effort and desire can never be questioned.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I think, his hustle, his harry, he's going after the players, he's winning the ball back. He's fantastic at that, and he gives 110% every game. It's just that little bit of quality in the final third that he lacked today. But we do know he has that in his locker. This is a player that knows how to score goals. We've seen him score a fantastic goal for Spurs. We've seen it at his previous clubs as well. So I'm just hoping he can improve on that a little bit. He actually showed good link up with Manor, who did really well finding him in some dangerous areas with some decent pullbacks. Yeah, he just needs a little bit more quality in that final third. And I think Connor, he's a very handy player to have around the squad. And I think he has a lot to offer us this season. And hopefully he can improve in that final third.
In terms of the back line, we saw, a very young back line with Ben Davis in the middle there with Malachi Hardy, Ty Hall and Rio. I mean, the ever impressive trio. Every time I watch them this pre-season, they've excelled. I mean, what are you enjoying watching about them most?
I think the ones that impressed me the most were Hardy and Rio. I think Rio, he was really building a relationship with Tel on that left side, and he was also going forward, inverting and going forward. He found himself in some really great positions, and I think he's a real talent. It'd be interesting to see what RDZ thinks about his future, if he needs a little loan over to the Championship, or maybe a European side could be good for him as well if he's up for travelling abroad. And with regards to Hardy, this kid is really, really talented. He's not just a great defender. He almost reminds me a little bit of Kubasi. I'm not saying that they're at the same level, right? But I think in terms of being on the front foot, winning the ball high up, and also playing those balls into midfield, which can hurt. I think there was one in there, and a little jink and a turn in midfield, and suddenly the whole pitch is in front of you, and you can spread the ball right and left or go through the middle. He looks like a real talent for me, Hardy. It'll be interesting to see him. Hopefully, he plays against Chelsea and gets the nod there because it will be really interesting to see how he copes with, a bit more quality up top. And against Chelsea, you're going to be dealing with that. So, I think for me, Hardy and Rio impressed the most. Hall also had a really good game. I think also linking up well with Manor. Made some overlapping runs as well. Defensively, very solid. And I think those 3 really doing well for young players. Really well.
Yeah, I mean, the progression, the ball progression at Malachi Hardy, I think it's just fantastic. Every time he gets the ball, just always looking to play it forward. And Rio just bundle of energy, isn't he? Just always up and down that left-hand side, and makes positive impacts in the game, and found himself in some great positions, like you said. In terms of Gray and Bergvall, I thought Bergvall impressed, to be honest, in the first half. It's going to be a shame if he does end up leaving, because I thought, he was able to just drive with the ball through the centre of the park. He won the ball back a number of times as well. So did Archie Gray. A few iffy moments, maybe a little bit from Archie Gray, losing the ball in quite precarious situations. But still, I think both of them had decent showings today.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think Bergvall probably just edged it over Gray today. Some real bite in his challenges, and we know he's got that in his game. Winning the ball back, spreading the play. Archie just looks so composed on the ball. Maybe that composure, kind of let him down a couple of times with a few misplaced passes, but that's going to happen. I thought overall that they both did really, really well in that midfield. And look, I'd love to keep both of them. I would love both of them to stay. I think there's other players that can be moved on and be sold. So yeah, I think Bergvall's a real talent. I know he splits opinion. Some fans don't really see what he offers. In terms of the praise he was getting in the Sweden squad, and around the team over there, they're saying that he's one of the best players they've seen play. So I think he's a huge talent, and I'd love to see him stay. But if it's one of those things where he wants to move on to play week in, week out, we've got to oblige, unfortunately.
I think at half time, we were quite happy with what we saw in the first half, but we thought we could have been maybe one or two more goals up, but quite comfortable with the way Spurs played, obviously taking into account the lack of quality in the forward line, but definitely could have been 2 or 3, in my opinion, with the chances that Conor Gallagher had. Going into the second half, we made 3 changes, right? Lucas, Bergvall, Davis and Tel went off. Lucá, Williams-Barnett, Takota Takai and Sandro Tonali came on. And I felt like we started the second half better than we were in the first half. Lucá Williams-Barnett was doing bits. He hit the bar. And you're thinking, wow, we're going to go on and absolutely smash these lot. But then out of nowhere, they scored, didn't they? They scored on the 55th minute. I thought it was 10 minutes of pressure from Spurs. And then against the run of play, Sydney scored. Basically a through ball from Kota Takai playing in the Sydney player. And he obviously put it in the back of the net. And then after that, it just kind of petered out, didn't it? Because I think Lucá Williams-Barnett was the shining light in the second half. But was there anyone else that really impressed you?
From the subs, it's hard to say because it got very disjointed after. I think Takai the mistake for the goal. He'll be kicking himself for that because he could have just cleared it and not played the player right in and basically assisted him. For me, it was all about Lucá Williams-Barnett. He was the one that really shined in that second half. Could have had a goal when he took his man on and had a little pop just shaved off the top of the bar. Look, I think you've got to praise the youngsters for coming on and playing, trying to play the RDZ way. I think they all did that, so they all deserve a bit of praise for that. But no one really stood out to me. I thought Donnelly did okay. In a couple of instances, he maybe could have been a bit smarter with the ball, but he did make a nice little run forward where he had a pull back and straight into the keeper's arms. But if that pass is a little bit better, it could set someone up for an assist. I think we've got to give credit to Dane as well for that winning penalty. It was cool as you like to win the game there in the end. Of course, it's not so much pressure in a pre-season friendly, but you still got to put the ball in the back of the net. Same goes for Lucá with that. That first penalty. I mean,
the audacity, man, from Lucá Williams-Barnett, mate.
It's ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? He does a little step. It reminded me of if you remember Roberto Carlos when he used to do those little steps before he would smack a 35-yard free kick in. So he did those little steps, and then he just did a little tiny panenka with the keeper going the wrong way. Absolutely ridiculous from Lucá.
I tell you what I was most impressed with in the second half was probably the link up between Robertson and Lucá Williams-Barnett down that left-hand side, because Robbo, I mean, he was putting in good crosses down that left. He was hurting Sydney down that left-hand side, with his link-up play with Williams-Barnett, and even could have had a goal. He had that shot that the keeper made a good save with and forced the corner from. So with the first look of Andy Robertson, I was quite impressed.
Yeah, no, I was really impressed by that link up, and it doesn't surprise me. You've got such a quality player like Robbo there, who he knows all about that left back position, and Williams-Barnett with the talent that he has, they were linking up really well, and I thought Lucá also playing some lovely through balls, inch perfect balls ahead of him, doing really really well with some of those. So yeah, nice little combinations there. Very, very nice to see. And yeah, for me, he's got to be part of that squad, Lucá.
He has to. He has to, because he looks physically ready, technically ready. He looks ready on all facets. And at 17, it's a scary, scary prospect, Lucá Williams-Barnett. So I have to wait and see what happens with him. But look, I think could have been better. Let's say that. I think we were better in the first half than we were in the second half, which is maybe expected with the amount of changes that we made in the second half. But we got to be better against Chelsea if we're going to think about taking the win there. But as pre-season goes, 1-0 against MK Dons, 2-0 against Auckland, and now a 1-1 draw with Sydney, winning 4-2 on penalties. Next up is Chelsea, 10:45 kickoff Saturday morning. You know where to catch the watch-along, people. Let us know your thoughts of the game in the comment section below. And big up Amir. Thank you so much for coming on today. We'll see you very, very soon.
You're very welcome. And just before I head off, the main thing about this game, guys, no injuries. We come out with a clean bill of health, and that is the main thing with these pre-season friendlies. We want to go into the season with all our players fighting and raring to go. So thank you very much, Ben, for having me on. Thanks to everyone.
Look, I mean, just before you go, it's also worth noting, like, at the end of the day, these games are just a fitness regime, isn't it? So you shouldn't take too much into what the performance is like.
No. We can take away that, some of the youngsters played really well. We can take away that Lucá Williams-Barnett is ready and he's fantastic. And we can also take away that Tel needs to be on free kicks.
Yeah.
That's that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But yeah, thanks very much for having me on, Ben. Take it easy, guys. Enjoy the rest of the week, everyone. And yeah, you know where to tune in on Saturday.
Big up, Amir. Speak to you soon. Everyone give massive props to Amir in the live chat. And big up as well to all of you guys that have tuned in for the post-match fan show.